great to be here today. Hi, everybody. So I'm going to talk about digital transformation in HR with the idea of embrace and pivot. So just a little background on myself. My name is Patrick Gentry. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Sprout Solutions, as Richard mentioned. So I grew up in Southern Oregon on a farm. And anybody who's from the province or the countryside knows what I mean when all the things that go along with that. I like to start out my talks with a story from that, just to break the ice. So today I'll talk about sugar cubes. So when I was around 7, 8 years old, my brother and I used to have a game where we would take sugar cubes out into the horse paddock. And when you're 7 years old, a horse is like a monstrous animal. And so we would find where they're hanging out and give them some sugar cubes. And then we would show them that we had more sugar cubes, and then we would run. Now, horses, they would always take a minute or two, a few seconds to figure out that what was happening here, that the sugar was leaving. And so they would start galloping after us. And that's a terrifying experience for a 7-year-old. And the game was that you had to run across a big open space and then find a tree on the other side of the field and hide behind the tree and let the horses run on either side of it. So that's just one of the many things that we did and really good preparation for life. Following that, I went to Canada. I went to university at the University of British Columbia. And then in 2008, came to the Philippines for a 2-month vacation, and that was in 2008. So I got involved with business fairly quickly with some other people. We started a company called KMC, which got into real estate, serviced office, and it was along that journey where we struggled with HR and payroll in the Philippines. So we decided to fix it. We focused on automating time and attendance, the 32 different pay rates here, making 201 files digital, and automating those government reports for payroll. So the 4 different agencies that you report to here. And so today, I'm going to focus on that digital transformation, specifically in HR. So there's a really interesting report. It's from Google. It came out quite recently, and it's talking about this topic. And so it's looking at this in ASEAN. So something that I've been talking about for a while, I stood up 3 years ago in the Rappler Social Good Summit and talked about this, the ease of doing business. And if you look here, the Philippines is doing pretty good in a lot of areas. We have really good population, great internet penetration, solid GDP, but our ease of doing business is an outlier compared to our neighbors. And that's something I've been pushing for a long time. Us in the business community, we should be highlighting that this impacts foreign direct investment in a real way, and we should be pushing for that change. So one of my messages here today is help me push that. And we're going to push that partly through digital transformation. And the next slide shows how. So what's really interesting here is this is looking at the internet economy. And that's a sign of digitalization, digital penetration, and usage. And if you see this today, Philippines is at 3.6 billion in terms of the internet economy value, and we're dead last in ASEAN. In fact, the next country up is almost twice our size. But what's really exciting is that by 2025, we close that gap with three neighbors. So neighboring countries that are today 2 or 3 times our size, we're closing the gap with by 2025. So that should tell everybody here, digital transformation in the Philippines is a massive change that's happening even beyond our neighbors. So if your company, if your HR department doesn't have a really solid plan around digital transformation, your competitors do. And this is the kind of data that can be used to drive that change in an organization. So these studies are out there, and they can, you can reach out and grab them and show them to leadership, to senior management, as proof that, like, hey, we need to get our act together and put a really good plan in place for our digital transformation. In terms of that specific point, digital transformation and that value, there's another great report from Microsoft, and this is one extraction from it. It's an $8 billion industry in the Philippines by 2021. So this is a massive change. It's happening now, and we need to get on it for the sake of our companies. And this is actually an exciting topic for me. I've always been really excited by this thing. So, a long time ago, humans were nomadic, right? Hunter-gatherers, and then we discovered farming. And there was this Agrarian Revolution, and then humanity, civilization adopted farming, and population spiked, and longevity increased, and all these things happened. Much later on, in the early 1900s, there was another revolution, the Industrial Revolution, right? Machines came into play, and another big revolution happened with civilization, and it affected standard of living and all of these great things that we have that a few people had, and then everybody had, thanks to industrialization. Well, now, worldwide, not just in the Philippines and in ASEAN, there's another revolution that's happening, and we're right in the middle of it. The thing is, you don't often see the revolution when you're in the middle of it, inside it, but it's happening right now, and it's huge, and it's the digital revolution. So I think it's very powerful to be cognizant of that, because it gives you the frame of reference to really talk about this with your senior leadership. Because senior leadership is all about the macro level. And selling this vision of digital transformation involves discussing this from a fundamental level. Something about the digital revolution is interesting that I want to talk about today. And that's what underpins it. So underlying this move to smartphones and internet and all of this thing is something very basic. It's data. Okay, so this digital revolution, what it's really doing and involving is data. Data accessibility, visibility, globalization, and value. So data is becoming a commodity. And you can see that now. The Data Privacy Act and GDPR and the awareness of people over their personal data is just a reflection of that. It's a reflection of people realizing that, wow, this is a commodity, and it has value, and it is the new commodity. And so this impacts your organizations quite a bit, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So the point of all this is that we have to embrace transformation, and we have to figure out a way to sell it to our company and to have a real strategy for it. And the idea here is to think big, be big. Thank you. The point here is that there's an issue with this digital transformation, and I see it a lot with the companies that we work with, because that's our big thing is this digital transformation and data management and things. So the issue is companies have this idea of digital transformation, but it's very knee-jerk. It's like, man, all of our 201 files are being stored in a cabinet. We need to get a digital system because that's the thing. Or like, our payroll people are spending, nights in the office just to do payroll. We need to fix that. And that's great. That's the first step. But what we don't see is the long-term vision with that digital transformation. The point is getting all of your stuff online, digital, automated, and getting that stream of good data is the first step. But your digital transformation strategy has to also go to the next step. What happens when we are online and our data is sanitized? visibility creates opportunity. And that's what happens when you get to that point. So the first step is getting online, getting everything digital. And then the next step is actually utilizing that data to create real opportunities. For example, your managers getting a Slack bot message or a Facebook Messenger message saying, hey, this employee who reports to you might be at risk of leaving because they have these factors that we've seen, that our AI has seen are factors for leaving, and you might want to talk to them. All this, that visibility of the data has given that manager an opportunity to have a discussion to save that employee from leaving the company. So that's one example. The point is that your strategy has to be more than just, let's get everything digital. You have to sell that vision that, that's the first step, and this is a really powerful transformation. Solving these little pain points like streamlining processes and saving time and efficiency across the organization, that's just little things compared to the insights that you're going to get from actually leveraging the things that you've put online. So, just as an example, this is pulling from our system, from Sprout. The first step is this. So now you're on a system, and the things that you never really could see before real time, all of a sudden you can see real time. From the number of employees, where they're coming to work from, age distribution, things like that. That's great visibility. But that's the first step. The next step is starting to use that data in a really effective way. So this is, after applying machine learning and artificial intelligence to that, we can now say, hey, by the way, here's a list of employees who might be considering leaving your company, who you might want to talk to. And in fact, the system is now even taking the next step of saying, hey, this is prescriptive analytics now, saying, hey, 1,000 peso increase in basic salary decreases the probability of churn of these employees by 37%. So that kind of functionality is one example of a company leveraging their data to make real-time decisions and to have real-time visibility on how to attack these problems. So things like, how do I lower my attrition across the organization? Who might be leaving next? Who's going to be in the office tomorrow if it's raining today? Right? All of that just comes down to having a good strategy for your organization's data. And that turns, for example, HR, human resources, there's a misnomer that it's an administrative and relationship cost center in a company. That's not it at all. It's a strategic department. And this is the kind of enablement that you can get to make that transformation. So that report I talked about earlier, it's available. We have a link here for it. We'll happily share it with you guys. And that can be just one piece of data that you guys use within your organizations to drive this change. Okay? Thank you very much.